everybody, and welcome back to Rocco Baby Crochet. Hope you've all had a great week. So this week's tutorial, we're going back to a Christmas theme and we are making these gorgeous little gingerbread people. I love them, they're so much fun. They look great hanging from your tree, turn them into bunting or just dot them around your home for the Christmas season, and they look so cute. So as always, as well as the video tutorial, there is a free written pattern which is available over on my blog, and there's a link to that just popping up here for you, so click on that and it'll take you to the free written pattern. But I hope you have a lot of fun making these, because I certainly do. If you do and you enjoy the pattern, please don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe and hit the bell notification so you don't miss out on any of the upcoming free patterns. Quick reminder, we've also got the Facebook group, which is loads of fun, where we're sharing what we're making throughout the week, so I'd love to see you all over there as well. So let's get into what we need to make our gingerbread people. Everything that you're going to need to make your gingerbread people. So for the body, the brown colour that I chose here is the Hayfield bonus DK in the colour pumpkin. For the bow or the bow tie, I use the Stylecraft Special DK, and that is in colour lipstick. For the green little hanger that they've got, I used the King Cole Glitz DK in Christmas green, and for the white detail around the edge, I used the King Cole Glitz in ice white. I've also used some safety eyes, so these are the ones I've used. They are 5mm little safety eyes. I'll pop a link in the description to the video of where I get mine from, just in case you're wondering where to get hold of them from, but they are the 5mm ones, so you're going to need 5 of those. I've gone down to a 3mm crochet hook, so I want the stitches to be quite tight for this project. You're going to need a pair of scissors, a darning needle, and if you feel more comfortable using stitch markers, then grab a stitch marker as well. So let's make our gingerbread people. So we want to begin, we're going to start by making the head, and you want to take the colour that you've chosen to do the body in. So for me it's the pumpkin colour, and we're going to begin by making a magic ring. So take your loose end of yarn and lay it over your hand just like that, and wrap your working yarn around your fingers, making the letter X, and pull it straight down to the bottom. Turn your fingers over and you'll have these 2 lines of yarn. Pop your hook under the first and grab onto the second. Pull it underneath the first, twist your hook upwards and then grab back onto that second strand of yarn and pull that through. And that's how we make the magic ring. So what you want to do from that point is you want to just chain 1. So yarn over and pull through, and then turn your magic ring so that your loose end is on the left of you, the left hand side of you, and when you pull on that loose end it'll make the magic ring smaller. So if you take it to a size that's manageable for you, and what you want to do is when you're crocheting around this magic ring, always make sure you are inserting your hook into the centre of the magic ring but also underneath that loose end, just so when you pull it together at the end of round 1, then you're going to have a nice, it's going to pull together nice and neatly. So I use UK terminology when I crochet, so I'm going to be using a double crochet, which if you use US terminology, that would be a single crochet. And we're just going to place for round 1 8 double crochets into the centre of this magic ring. So insert your hook into the middle of the ring underneath the loose end, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both those loops. So again, insert your hook into the centre of the ring, yarn over, pulling up a loop, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. Now if you feel more confident using stitch markers, pop your stitch marker into that very first stitch that we've just made. So if you count back the V's because on this one, this is my chain 1 here. This one here is my chain 1. This one here is my first stitch, and this one here is my second stitch. So you're going to want to pop your stitch marker into your first stitch here, just in case you're struggling to identify them. That's where it is. So pop your stitch marker in, and then we need to do 6 more double crochets into this magic ring. So it's 8 in total. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and my last one, 8. So then when I pull on this loose end, you'll see that the magic ring comes together and it forms a circle with your work. So you want to pull it so you can't see the hole in the centre. Then you can take your stitch marker out of that first stitch, and we're going to slip stitch to join this round. So into that first stitch, you're going to insert your hook underneath both strands of yarn, which make the top of it, yarn over and pull through, and then pull through again. So round 2, and you may have to keep pulling on that loose end there just to keep that tightened up a little bit. So for round 2, you're going to chain 1, and our first stitch is going to be into this space here, so directly underneath the chain 1, we're working into here, and every stitch around for round 2 is going to have 2 double crochets in it. So 1 and 2. Again, if you're more confident using stitch markers at this point, pop your stitch marker back into that first stitch and then move on to your next stitch, and you're going to place 2 into that one as well. And in total for round 2, you're going to have 16 stitches. So I'll let you work your way around for round 2. So if you hit pause and come back to me when you've got your 16 stitches, and we'll move on to round 3 together. So I've just finished off round 2 and I've got my 16 stitches. Make sure you're counting and that your stitch count is correct. So I'm going to pop out my stitch marker from round 2 from the first stitch, and just like we did in the previous round, I'm going to insert my hook underneath the top of that first stitch, yarn over and pull through again just to join that round. Chain 1, and for round 3 it's the stitching is going to be alternate. So for this first stitch, and again we're starting where we did for round 2, so we're going to be starting in this stitch here just directly underneath the chain 1, and we're going to place 1 double crochet into there, and then into the next stitch we're going to place a double crochet increase, so we'll be placing 2. Then into the third stitch we'll be placing 1, into the fourth stitch we'll be placing 2, and so on all the way around, and you'll have a total stitch count of 24 at the end of round 3. So insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both, so just 1 into that first stitch, then into your second stitch you're placing your increase, so you're going to do 2. Remember your stitch marker into that first stitch, and then into this next stitch you're placing 1, and then into the next stitch you're placing 2. And the way I remember it, because sometimes if you get distracted, because I'm on round 3, I just count the stitches in the sequence so it matches the round in this project. So I'll just do repeat, so I'll do 1, and then I know 2 and 3 go together in the next stitch. So I just count 3 all the time. 1, 2 and 3, just like that, all the way round. So if you complete round 3, and then I'll meet you back to finish off the head of the gingerbread. So I've just placed my last stitch in round 3, and I'm going to pop out my stitch marker, and I'm going to again slip stitch this to join, And that's the head finished. But what we want to do is just chain one, and you want to leave yourself a long enough end to sew this head to the body of the gingerbread man afterwards. So if you leave yourself sort of 6 or 7 inches, that will be plenty. I tend to go a little bit longer on this project because I like the loose ends staying inside, because it kind of plumps him out a little bit. And then if you pull up on that loose yarn, pull it through, place that chain one between your thumb and your finger and pull firmly just to secure that, and that will just fasten off the head. So let's move on to how we make the body of the gingerbread. So to make the body of the gingerbread man, the first 3 rounds are exactly the same. So we're going to make a magic ring again. Exactly the same as we did when we made the head. And then you're going to chain one, making sure that your loose end again is on the left of you. And into the magic ring we're going to place 8 double crochets. Remember, I'm using UK terminology, so US, that's 8 single crochets. Pop your stitch marker into this first stitch if you're a little bit unsure of your stitches at the moment. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. So then I'll pull on my loose end again, closing that magic ring into a nice circle. And we'll slip stitch to the top of this first stitch where our stitch marker is. So pop your stitch marker out, insert your hook underneath that first stitch, yarn over and pull through, and then pull through and chain one. So again, we're going to be starting in that little hole there just underneath where we've just chained one, and we're going to be placing 2 double crochets in every stitch around for round 2, just like we did for the head. So you'll have a total stitch count of 16 at the end of this round. Don't forget your stitch marker. So I've put 2 into my first stitch, then I'm going to move on to my second stitch and pop 2 double crochets into there, and you just continue going around like that until you've got your 16 stitches. So if you want to press pause now and come back to me when you're at that point. So I've just done my last stitch of round 2, so I'm going to pop my stitch marker out and slip stitch it to this first stitch exactly how we made the head and chain one, and then again the same as I did the head, this is going to be for round 3 an alternating round of double crochet and double crochet increase. So into my first stitch here I'm going to place 1 double crochet, and into the next stitch I'm going to place 2, I'm going to pop my stitch marker back into that first one, and then into this next stitch is 1, next stitch is 2, 1 into the next one, 2 into the next one, and so on until you've gone all the way around doing that alternating stitch sequence. And I'll meet you back, if you want to press pause, I'll meet you back when I'm finishing up round 3. So I'm just at my last 2 stitches of round 3, so I place 1 double crochet and then into my last stitch. Your last stitch should always be the increase, so I'm going to place 2 into that one, 1 and 2, and then we're just going to slip stitch to this very first stitch here just to close it. And now we're going to move on to making the legs of the gingerbread. So from this point what you want to do is chain 7, so you're just going to yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 7 times. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. And then what we want to do is we're going to skip the first 2 chains, and into the next 5 chains we're going to place a UK treble, which is a US double. So you can either go into them from the front, so in that case what you would be doing is you would be skipping 2 chains, so skip this one and place your first out of the 5 trebles in this stitch here, and that's fine. It's just that I work into the back loop of the stitches, so I'm counting the ridges that run along the centre. So I will count these back bumps, so I'll count 1 back bump, 2 back loops, and then I'll place my first one into this third one here, and then you should have 5 chains, so you place 1 treble crochet in each of those 5 chains after you've skipped the 2. So it's just giving us a turning chain, that's why we're skipping the 2. So for a treble crochet, what you want to do is yarn over, insert your hook into the 3rd chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through the last 2, and then again yarn over, insert your hook into your next chain along, yarn over and pull up a loop. So you've got 3 loops on your hook, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. So we've got 3 more to work. So that's my 3rd. Here's my 4th. And my 5th. So you want this so that your loose end from your chain 1 is facing away from you, and then to join this leg to the body, you're not counting this one here where the chains are coming out of. We're going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and slip stitch to this 3rd stitch here just to join the leg. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through. Then we're going to make the 2nd leg in exactly the same way. So we're going to chain 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And into the 3rd chain from the hook, you're going to place your first treble crochet, and then 1 treble crochet in every chain until you get back up to the top where you started with your chaining, and in total that will be 5 treble crochets. So that's my 4th. And that's my 5th. So again, what I want to do is skip 2 stitches and slip stitch this leg to the 3rd stitch. So 1, 2, and here's where I'm going to slip stitch. So I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, pull through, and pull through. Into the next stitch along, I'm going to do a double crochet. So insert my hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through both loops. And into the next stitch along, I'm just going to slip stitch. So I'm inserting my hook, yarn over, pull through, and just pull through. And then from here, I'm going to chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And in just the same way that we worked the legs, we're working treble crochets into the chains. So we're going to skip the first 2 and place a treble crochet into the 3rd, the 4th, and the 5th chain. So you'll have 3 treble crochets in total. So skip the first 2. So there's 1, 2. Into my 3rd is where I place my first treble crochet. And so I've got 2 chains left, so I'm going to pop a treble crochet in both of those as well. And here's my last one. And just like what we did with the legs, what we want to do is skip 2 stitches. So 1, 2, and slip stitch it to the 3rd. So insert your hook, yarn over and pull through. So now we need to get round to this side here to pop on our 2nd arm. So what you want to do is you want to place 1 double crochet in the next 6 stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And then from your 6th one, what you're going to do is you're going to slip stitch into that next stitch. So yarn, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through and pull through. Then you're going to chain 5 again, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And I'm just going to skip the first 2 chains and place my treble in the 3rd chain from the hook. And that will leave me 2 chains left, and each of those chains is going to get a treble crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And here's my last one. There we go. So I'm going to skip my 2 stitches, slip stitch it to the 3rd. And then I'm just going to pop a double crochet into the next stitch. And we're just going to then slip stitch into the last stitch there. Chain 1, and that's our body finished. You want to leave enough of a loose end, again, just to weave it in on the inside. It doesn't have to be too neat because we're popping 2 of them together, but I do like to leave a little bit extra just to fill him out a little bit. Pull up on that loose end, grab hold of your knot and pull on that quite firmly to secure it. So we now have a body and we have a head. So you're going to want to make 2 sets of these. So if you go ahead, make another head and make another body and come back to me when you're at that point and we'll start putting them together. Okay, so hopefully now you have got 2 bodies and you've got 2 heads. I'm just going to show you how I attach my body. So the way I do it is I count in from my 3 trebles here, that is the arms, and then I skip 2 stitches on either side and I attach my head into the top 4 stitches here. So I usually start at one side and work along. So grab your darning needle and where you tied off round 3 from the head, you want to thread that loose end onto your darning needle and just attach them using a whip stitch I use. And make sure that both your wrong sides are together, so both your loose ends are facing away from you. And I just secure that on those top 4 stitches going across. But if you just have a play around to where you're happy with this head sitting, so you might want to have a little play around, but it's those top 4 stitches that I attach the head to. Okie dokie. So then on the other side, I will just tie a knot in the 2 loose ends, a double knot, and so there's one. And just before I pull too tightly on this second one, I'll just press on it and then just pull either side, just so it's not pulling him out of shape. And then all I do with these loose ends now is I make sure that this loose end from my magic rings, both on his tummy and on his head, are nice and closed. and I just go through one of the back loops, just making sure that I'm not going through the front. Pull it through, chain 1, pull off my hook, hold on to that chain 1 and pull on that knot just to secure it. And I'll do that with all my loose ends, and then I don't trim them off because I like him having a little bit of filling. So if you want to go ahead and do that, and then we'll work the bow or the bow tie together, and then we'll pop him together. Okay, so I've got my two bodies sewn together, so I'm just going to make the bow. So I'm going to take my Stylecraft, I'm using red, and all you want to do is make a slip knot and insert your hook onto that knot, and you're just going to chain 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9. And then in the second loop, in the second chain from the hook, you're going to place a double crochet. So insert your hook into that second chain, yarn over and pull through, yarn over and pull through 2. Move along to your next chain, and in total you'll be placing 8 double crochets along here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Chain 1 and turn, and then you're just going to place 1 double crochet in each of those 8 stitches. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Chain 1 and turn, and the last row you're just going to do another double crochet in every stitch for again a total of 8 stitches. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. Chain 1, and then you're going to cut your yarn off, pull up on that loose end, and again secure the chain 1 you've just made and pull firmly on it to knot that down. So you just want to weave in these loose ends next, just into the back of the bow. So let me just grab my darning needle. I'm just going to run it up just underneath a couple of stitches. Doesn't have to be very many. Just done 5, just underneath the back. Run it through, and then I'll just go back the once. And I'll do that with my second loose end. So if you press pause while you're doing that, and then we'll turn this into the lovely bow. And to turn this into the bow, what you want to do is cut yourself off. I've cut off around 10 inches, 12 inches of yarn. Make a slip knot with a nice long loose end, and you're just going to chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then just pull it through. Lie that down vertically and pop your bow over it horizontally. Before you pull it too tight, just make sure it's in the place that you definitely want it to be, and then just pull it tight, and I usually double knot this. Don't cut off those loose ends just yet because we'll use them to sew it onto our gingerbread. But that's how I make my little bows. So really easy. So let's have a look at adding the eyes next. So where I usually pop my eyes is in between rows 1 and 2, and I'll usually pop them around here. Just like that. And then for his body or her body, I start off right in the centre and pop one there. And then I'll go one row above and pop one there, and I'll go one row below and pop one there as well. I don't attach these, I don't fasten these off just yet. I just want to make sure that everything's sitting where I want it. I've got a knot there. I've not in my work where I want to put this. Oh, pop that through. There we go. So then I'm just going to do a little smile on him here. So I'm going to grab my red yarn again, and I just work underneath the eye here, and I'll just go in these stitches here. So I insert my hook from back to front underneath the stitch where the eye is. That's where I place mine. I skip a stitch and then go back into the next stitch, and then I go backwards one stitch so it's in the middle. Just need to keep your loose ends out of the way, and then I go forward 2 stitches, back a stitch, and forward 2 stitches, and that's how I put my smile on him. So let's pop him together. So I'm quite happy with where everything's positioned. So I'm just going to secure the red. Let me just cut that off. It looks so messy because I do. You can, if you want to tidy them up on the inside, you can if it makes it easy for you. I just like them to have a little bit of, like I said, the padding. So I'm happy with where everything's sitting and how that's looking. So I'm going to pop the backs onto my safety eyes. So you just push those on. But like I say, you want to be happy. You want to make sure you're happy with where everything is sitting, because once these are on, the only way to get them off is to cut them off. So take a little time to check that you're happy with everything before you do secure them. And now all that's left to do is to slip stitch him together. So what we need to do next is we need to join these 2 sides together. So you want to make sure that the wrong sides are meeting in the middle. And where I usually join them is I will go in through the top here, and I'll make sure that my hook is going underneath the top of the 2 stitches on the front and the back piece of the gingerbread. Then I'll take my white yarn and I just hold it on the back there just quite loosely, and I just yarn over and pull it through both the sides. I keep hold of that loose end just until I've done a couple of slip stitches, and I'm just going to move in directly into the next stitch, making sure I go underneath both of the sides, yarn over and pull through. You want to keep these slip stitches quite loose, so you're pulling them up quite tall and then pull through. And then move on to my next one, and once you've done that one you can let go of that loose end there on the back. Moving into my next stitch, yarn over and pull through, pulling it up tall and then pull through again. Move into my next stitch, yarn over, pull through and pull through again. And you're just going to repeat that all the way around his body. Obviously when you come into this side you want to make sure that you're keeping all these loose ends inside of him, and I'll meet you back if you want to hit pause, and I'll meet you back when I'm coming round to here and we'll attach the hanger and his bow tie. So I'm just coming up to my last couple of stitches. So here's my last slip stitch, And then what I'll do is I will cut the yarn, leaving enough to make sure I can sew this in, pull up on that loose end and just pull firmly on that knot there. So all I do with these loose ends from the slip stitching is I will thread them onto my needle. I'll just pop that one back through the back there, flip it over, make a little knot on the back. I usually do a double knot and then pop these ends onto my darning needle. And pop them into the inside of the gingerbread, popping my needle out further down, and then I pull quite tightly on it, trim that loose end there, and when you let go you should be able to just pull that into the body of your gingerbread. And the same with this one. Just pop it into the inside, out through a stitch further down, pull it nice and tight, trim off the excess, just add Rocco up here, and there we go. How cute is he? So now I'm just going to attach the little hanger, and you just want to make a slip knot, pop the yarn on your hook, and going into the very middle stitch up at the top, again underneath both of the sides of the gingerbread, and slip stitch that to join it to your work. And then I chain 20, but if you want it longer or shorter, that's up to you. Once I've chained my 20, pop it back into the same stitch where I attached it and just slip stitch it. Cut off a loose end, chain one, pull it through and just secure that onto him. And there's the hanger attached. So I just do the same with these green ends that I did as the white. So if you want to press pause just while you tidy yours up, and then we'll position the bow. So you can either pop the bow up here on the top there if you want a head bow, or if you want a bow tie you can pop it down here. So I'm just going to do another bow tie because someone's asked me for one, and pull it through. Then I'll just do a double knot on the back, and again we'll just do what we did with the white yarn, which is the icing. So I make that quite tight so it's barely noticeable, and then just thread it into the body. Pull those loose ends nice and tight and trim them. And when you let go it should just go into him. And there we have it. I think they're so cute. I hope you've had lots of fun making your gingerbreads along with me. So I've got 3 so far. I've got about another 10 to make of these. So I hope you have lots of fun. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, please don't forget to support us here on this channel. Hit the notification bell, hit subscribe. Don't forget the free pattern over on the blog to support this tutorial, and the Facebook group where I love chatting to you all and seeing what you've been making throughout the week. Have a great week, and I will see you next Sunday. Happy hooking!